Hello everyone! In this video I'm going to be showing in real time without any edits, training my 5-month-old puppy Bliss to do a default leave it from food on the table. So this is actually his first lesson. We worked on leave it quite a few weeks ago, leaving it from food in a container on the floor and leave it from other things. But we've not worked on counters. I never have food on my coffee table, and since he's grown so tall, now he can reach the counters. So he started putting his paws up and looking at what's on the counters. Pop-ups! Bliss! Hi! What are you doing? What are you doing? Wish says, I know exactly what he was doing. If you do find your dog counter surfing, I suggest interrupting as quickly as you can using a positively trained interrupter like your dog's name, a recall, or the leave it cue, or simply getting your dog. So there I lifted him off the table neutrally, and here I'm calling his name and also preventing him from drinking the gravy. It can feel tempting to want to tell your dog off for counter surfing, but the same applies to house training. If you tell your dog off for doing the things you don't like, what can happen is they can start to hide them from you. So the dog could start peeing in other rooms or counter surfing in other rooms that you're not in. If you don't scold your dog is going to counter surf in front of you, and it makes it extremely easy to interrupt and then train your dog what you do want them to do. Good boy! Good boy. Good job. You did good laying down there. Yeah, you did. So did you. All done now. Good. So along with this training, I'm doing management, where I'm keeping things off of the counter that he could reach potentially, and also making sure there are no crumbs. So even if there's a teeny weeny crumb and your dog puts their feet up and they lick the crumb, that's going to reinforce the dog for putting their feet up to eat food on the counter. So I'm very careful about crumbs, because I love that my dogs don't counter surf, and I have 7 dogs. Little dogs, they can't reach the counter, but it's wonderful to not worry about them going on the counter and eating stuff. Okay, so I do have a tutorial on how to train this, so you can watch that first, and I'll link it in the description below. But I'm just going to work on my boy and work on him at the steps that he already is at. So I have some medium value treats, and I'm going to put these low value treats on the table like that, and I can mark and reinforce as they go onto the table. So I've kept the leash. Let's see if you can see me. I'm keeping the leash short enough that he can't reach the table to sniff at the treats, and if he were to sniff, he's far enough away that he can easily turn back to me. So that's how I'm setting him up for success. If I were to, let me put something better in here because he's being too good. If I were to put the treats right in front of him like that and then say leave it and try to get him to come back to me, that's not a great way to break the steps up small enough in small approximations to teach him to just leave stuff alone without going to think to bother it. You saw when I put the treats on the table, it was easy enough for him to completely ignore, because we've worked on the steps of leave it already. But if it's too close to him, say we're right here and I've got the treats right there, and he's sniffing at it and there's something really exciting in there, it's going to be hard to teach him to then, oh, hi, ignore it. And he's just really, you're just doing too well. Of course you would. Okay, so we're going to up the ante. Some melted cheese. We were out in the field having a play date with a little cattle dog, and this cheese has gotten all smelly and melted in my treat bag. And it's the first day in his life that he's ever had cheese. So that should be interesting to him. So I put that cheese into the container, and I also have cheese. So in this exercise, it's extremely important that when you're first working on the default leave it, that there's low value treats on the table and high value treats on your person. But because this is actually turning into a demo instead of just training my own dog, I'm going to make him a little bit more interested in the treats, as if to simulate what your dog might look like. So he's already looking at the table to see what's on there. So I'm going to call him away, make sure my leash is short enough, put the treats down on the table, and mark that moment that he thinks to look back at me. Good job. And now I'm going to walk back and forth over here and mark him for looking but not walking towards the treats, and then mark him for not looking at all. Got to find that piece of cheese because I was feeding him the medium value treats, and you can see he can easily ignore those treats on the table. Good boy. Good job. I'm fumbling a little bit here because I didn't cut up my reinforcer, and that's a really important lesson. I had the cheese like this in a stick because I wasn't training. I was just recalling him and getting him a treat. But if you're fumbling around trying to break off pieces of treat for your dog while you're training, that's really going to mess up your training and not make it as clean as it could be. So that's what I'm doing right now, screwing up because it's my own dog in my own training session. And so I am giving myself feedback that next time I'm going to cut up the treats. So I'm going to try walking past those treats. And he has worked on leave it. So that is why this is so easy for him, is he's seeing it as, oh, this is probably a leave it game. And the reason I'm not saying leave it is I want the table with the food on it to be a default cue to leave whatever it is. He is a service dog for me, and so he's supposed to ignore food on the table even more than other dogs. So it would be super embarrassing if we went places and he stared at food on the table as a dog trainer. Other service dog trainers, free, would not like, really criticize me doing that. Good job. So he's doing really good with this exercise. You can go and watch the video tutorial on how to continue this. But what I want to work on now, because I don't like to work on things for too long, and we did quite a lot of this because I was blabbing. Now we're going to work on something fun, which is teaching him to back up. And with this little table here, it's going to be super fun. So because there's a little channel here like this, if I have two treats in my hands on either side, instead of lifting them up, which makes a dog sit and trying to lure the dog backwards like that, I'm going to take two treats, put them on either side of his face, and then move them back. So he looks to the left and the right, trying to get the treat, and then going through the channel, and then you can put the treats back further. So I'm going to change the camera angle. I promise you I'm not going to train in between, so you can see what's going on. So here we go. I'm luring him back like that. Good. Marking and then putting the treat down on the ground. Good. So if he goes for one hand, I can feed him from the other. Good. To keep him straight. Then, when you have a dog that can walk back quite a few paces like that, you can start luring from above like this. Good. And then luring with just one hand if you wanted. Good. And then you could add the cue back up. So I'm going to feed him a treat and then say back up and then lure him back. And I'm going to revert back to luring him down low so he doesn't not back up when I say the cue. Back up. Good. And I can also release him. So it really depends on your training. So if you say back up, then you could say free and he gets another treat here. Back up. Free. Good. So now I want to add a verbal cue. So I'm going to say back up. Oh, he laid down. So anytime that I get a dog to try and offer something and they offer something that they think I want, I will mark that, reinforce it, and then go back a step and make it super easy. So I'm just going to lure him back. So I'm going to say back up and then lure him back. But I really liked that he laid down because he was backing away from me. So back up. Awesome. And when you get in a groove like this, back up. Good. Then you can see if you can just wait and see if the dog offers backing up. So back up. Good. So did you see him take that tiny step? I clicked it and then I fed further back. So he had to take more steps to get the treat. Good. And there he took a mini step back. So I'm going to click that too. Back up. Good. And if he lays down, I'll just throw the treat behind him. Back up. Good. Back up. Good. Another thing you can do is put the treat between your legs like this on the floor, and then as the dog backs up to see your face again, you can mark and reinforce. I learned that from Kay Lawrence, who uses a chair. She's sitting in a chair and puts the treat under her chair and then marks the dog, offering backing up, and then feeds further back. So that's where I learned that trick from. And we will stop here for the moment. I hope you enjoyed this training session with my pup. And if you'd like to support my work, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. You can also become a supporting member of channel Kikopup by clicking the join button, and that gains you access to an extra members video a month. So not just the free YouTube videos, but an extra member video in the community section on YouTube. See you later, guys. Oh, you did so good.